Hello and good evening, good morning, or whatever time of day it is for you guys. This is Peter from Geekhead, and I'm here to give you a short review of the film Hercules. You may have heard of it. It's the new one starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, out in cinemas in the UK right now and worldwide for a couple of weeks, I think. Anyway, this is. I actually had to think about it for this review. I had to sit down and mull over the movie for a little bit because it's really hard to give a strong opinion on this film. If you just want to sum up my review of this film very quickly, it's okay. I mean, I don't regret seeing it. It was enjoyable enough, couple of hours in the cinema. Didn't hate anything from it really, but there's nothing really about it that's just great. And there's good things in it. It's decently done, but it's just kind of there. But can't give you just that. I have to give you a bit more of a breakdown. So let's just quickly go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of this film. And start off with, spoiler warning. Going to be revealing any spoiler I feel like. So if you haven't seen it, don't worry. Yeah, I mean that because there's really nothing to spoil in this film. I'll get back to that point when I get to the criticism. The good things though. Okay, now there are some pretty good things in this film. Number one being Dwayne Johnson himself. I mean, the man is he is a screen presence. He's like Arnold in his prime, you know. He's one of those guys who just steps onto the screen and you know he's there. It's like he shows up and he's going, "Hello, this is my movie and you will pay attention to me." And so whenever he's on screen doing his thing, being bombastic or actually surprisingly subtle in his performance at times, it's entertaining. He is a good actor, surprisingly well. And obviously, the man is built like a freaking tank. Honestly, in this film, they kind of suggested that he's not got any supernatural powers, but the man is built enough that you could believe he had superhuman strength. And some of the stuff he does in this film, yeah, there's one moment where he punches someone and he flies back like 15 feet. Yeah. Or another moment where, in probably the only moment in the film that made me go, damn, he he power slams a horse. And I don't even think they used CGI for that. I think he just did it for real. Horse got loose on set and he just slammed the thing into the floor. And it's just like, huh. So yeah, he is pretty good in this film. Actually, in terms of characters, they're all fairly decent in this film. Most of them are one or two broad stereotypes slammed together with a bit of a smush and just enough of an edge to, make them feel alive. I mean, as somebody once said, reviewing different characters, they have just enough dimensions to give you a paper cut. And that's kind of how I feel about these guys. They're not bad. They're pretty decent archetypes. You've got the Amazon warrior. You've got the mad barbarian. You've got the cynical best friend. You've got the teller of tales and legends, which is a decent character. And yeah, and you've also got one other really, really cool character. I can't remember the name of the actor, but he's the old dude with the visions who sees the future, and he's cool. He's hilarious. Whenever he's on screen, he's just kind of like, "Yep, I'm awesome. Don't you know me?" Not that he's doing that. He doesn't have to. He just steals the scene by showing up. It's amazing. And then in what else with it? Well, again, the action's okay, but in terms of the good, that's about it. You have The Rock and some halfway decent supporting characters. But there's not really a lot bad in the film either. That's the thing. The plot is predictable. I mean, from about 5 minutes in, maybe 10, you figured out how the plot's going to go from every second that point's on, especially if you've seen the trailer. I mean, you know every beat of the movie. And there's a couple of hints of what to me would have been a much more interesting story, but they're not followed up on. I mean, the villains are predictably villainous. They do what you would expect them to do. The shocking twist halfway through, where the guy who you thought was the villain, playing the barbarian leader, again, I forget their names, I'm terrible with Greek, isn't, and it turns out that John Hurt's character is in fact the villain. Okay, I wasn't exactly surprised. In fact, I'm surprised that they thought it would be a surprise, but that's how it goes. And then you've got the rest of the stuff. But there's no major faults. I mean, the action is entertaining enough. The plot is okay. But then we get to the ugly. Okay, and now for me, this is the thing that brings the film down. Some people might think this is a really clever idea, and that's cool. If you liked it, fair enough. This is just my opinion. And I think this is a negative. And they completely strip the mythology out of the stories. Now, some of that worked. For instance, there's some opening montage where you see him slaying the you see Hercules, he fights the Hydra, he fights the Lion of Nemea, he fights the boar, everything. And then it's revealed that these are actually like the Hydras, for instance, humans who wear snake masks. And some of those reveals work for me. They're kind of cool. But then you have these little teasers, like there's the three-headed hound of Cerberus is revealed to be these three feral wolves right by the end. And he keeps dreaming of this hound that slaughtered his family. If you know the myth of Hercules, that isn't really a major shock. They play around with a few of the details of the myth, but they keep the broad overtones of it throughout most. But then it's revealed that what was the three-headed hound is in fact just three feral wolves. And there's at one point where they're teasing centaurs, but they're not actually centaurs, they're just cavalry units. And some people might like that, stripping away the myth from the story. I like the myth. I really enjoy the myth. And so stripping away to me was a negative. Not if they just stripped it away. I think what irritates me is that they tease the myth. They tease centaurs. They tease the Nemean lion, but they don't follow through. I mean, I think it would have been really interesting if Hercules had been making up all of these mythological things like the Hydra, the lion. They were all normal things. And then he encounters a real supernatural threat, like really meets centaurs, or there's really a three-headed hound after him. I think that would have been the prospect of a really cool movie. But it's not a deal breaker. And like I say, the movie is okay. I wouldn't rush out to see it again, but I wouldn't exactly say it was a waste of my time. I enjoyed it for a couple of hours, and I might catch it on DVD when it comes out. But that's about it. Okay, one final thing to add about it, and that is that it is actually surprisingly faithful to the actual myths of Hercules. I mean, Hercules is not an idealized hero. At some points, he comes across as a bit of a jackass, but he's a good guy all told. And there are little touches, little hints in there for you, like classical mythology buffs, that do match up the myth surprisingly well. But I'll let you watch out for those. But to sum up, in this short review of Hercules, it's okay. You won't regret seeing it, but I'm not going to say you need to. And if you can't get to the cinema for anything else this week, save your money and wait for Guardians of the Galaxy, I'd say. Okay, this is Peter for Geekhead, signing off.